slash man. He was always very particular about his hair. Very particular about the hair he used to have. And some of you know he was. And he had a head full of hair. That's what got Yolanda's attention, that head full of hair. And then he started singing, and she hung up on him. And he started singing for her. True story, right? True story. Love you more. She said, okay, bye. Many times. Well, Dwayne was a boy, and he was always particular about his hair. And when asked what you wanted to do as his father and mother, Sister Uzzle, what do you want to do when you get a little older, when you graduate from high school? He said, I want to be a barber. I want to cut hair. I want to be a barber. And I'm telling you, he didn't talk about anything else. Well, in 2004, after high school, Dwayne enrolled in the West Kentucky Community and Technical College in Paducah, Kentucky. And he enrolled in the barber program. 18 months, 5 days a week. For 18 months, 5 days a week, Dwayne drove from Hickman to Paducah to school. Rain, sleet, snow, sunny, 5 days a week. After school, at barber school, he would then go to his Camaro, whatever it was he was driving, and put on a suit and tie that was wrinkled up, stuffed in the back seat that he wore every day. And I just kidding. Just kidding. Her blood pressure's getting up now. But he would put on a suit and tie and he'd go to work at Dillard's at night. And he would get off at work around 9:30 or so, drive home after he'd done been in school from, what time school started, 8 o'clock maybe? And he didn't know I was doing this at all. He still has no clue what's going on. And he drove all the way home 5 days a week, Paducah. And that's a good drive. 75 miles or so, give or take, one way. He'd done it 5 days a week, then went to school. And many a times after school, when he would go to work, and many times he would sleep in his car after school if he didn't have to work but 2 hours that night. After school, he'd get him by tea, he'd be found sleeping in his car, and he'd get up, he'd put a suit and tie on and go in there and try to sell a suit and tie. He worked in the men's department. This was many years ago. And so Yolanda kept him awake a lot of times, talking to him on the way home. Later on in his schooling, as they began to date. And that was the beginning of this man's 15-year career as a master barber in Kentucky, and also as later on as a master barber in the state of Tennessee. He holds a license in both states. And I remember when Dwayne went to barber school, and I remember when he went to, I couldn't remember the town, the Louisville or Lexington? Louisville, he said, Dad, he said, Kentucky is a little different than Madison. Madison went to school. He said the Kentucky barber board, you have to have a live person. They have to see you cut a live person's hair. They have to see you shave a live person's face with a straight razor, etc. And the list went on. And he said, and I knew where he was getting at. Dad, would you be willing to be my guinea pig? He didn't say that. I just filled in the blanks there. I said, Dwayne, I would love to, man. I said, but I'm not going to have no 3 or 4 day growth beard. I said, I'm just going to tell you. And no, it's better. He said, it's better because I don't have that much to shave. We just cover it up real quick with shaving cream and let it rip. And so anyway, I remember a portion, they called me in there, and there was like 6 barber chairs there, and there was two or three instructors that was sitting there like drill sergeants watching them. And I sat in that chair, and they come around to the point where they was going to shave you face with the straight razor. And Dwayne laid me back, and boy, he was letting her rip, man. He was shaving me, and about that time I heard him fiddling back there at his little black box. He had a little black box he worked out of. That's his barber's box, and he worked out of that. Still got it, I guess. And he worked out, and I heard him fiddling around there. Next thing I knew, he done like this. He said, and he said, bam. And I said, oh! He said, shut that, shut that. Shut. He had forgot his aftershave and put rubbing alcohol on my face. You know how you go to sleep, kind of halfway asleep when they're shaking? That woke me up fast. And I said, oh, shut. He had forgotten it. And he was just wanting the smell to come up. Why, Keith? Because you had to have that. And so, well, what a story. And another story is when Dwayne was about 2 weeks into barber school, Brandon liked his hair. And he said, well, let's get a little more training before you cut my hair again. But for 13 years, for a 15-year career in barbering, 13 of those years, he was the owner of Bypass Barbershop in Hickman, Kentucky. And then, I don't know how long he's been at East End Barbershop. I don't know. 10 years in Hickman, 7 years in Tiptonville. And he became the owner of East End Barbershop in Tiptonville. He was owned both shops. He would work 3 days in one shop and about 3.5 days in another shop. Very busy man. And I want to say that he's very successful. But about 3.5 to 4 years ago, Dwayne and I had a long talk. And I was at a crossroads in my life. I needed help here at the church. And I talked to Dwayne, and God was giving us tremendous revival here at this church. And I asked Dwayne, I went to him, and I could tell he was a little antsy and, his ministry. And I went to him and I asked him if he wanted to come to work full time. And we both agreed to pray. And he came to me a few days later. He said, no, Dad. He said, I think I'm going to continue doing what I went to school for. I said, I like my job. I really do. I enjoy cutting hair. It's just a great career. And I worked hard for this, and I just don't want to let it go. I said, no problem. I understand. I said, but just think about it and let me know if you change your mind. And that's 3.5, 4 years ago, whatever. And as the months began to pass by, Dwayne's preaching engagements began to pile in. Pastors began to call him across the country. And I told Dwayne at that point in time, I said, Dwayne, you're going to have to make some decisions. I said, it's decision time. You're going to have to make some decisions. And because missing days at the barbershop to go preach is not good for business. It's not good for local advertisement. People know where you go to church, etc., etc. And so, and then, of course, he was trying to work here as best he could at the church. And so Brother Marks came and preached us that long revival. And I remember as he preached one night, many of you remember, he preached one night about people stepping out and people making a difference in the community and people just stretching God or themselves for the work of God. And so Dwayne come to me, wasn't long after that, he come to me and he said, Dad, he said, I want to sell my shop in Hickman. And he said, I'm going to condense my working to 3 days a week and go to work with you if it's still available, 2 days a week, Monday and Friday. And he said, what it will do He was even helped me on my preaching engagements where I can leave after work, maybe Thursday, and preach where it is Friday or Saturday and come back home, etc. And so he decided to sell the shop in Hickman and opened Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday in Tiptonville. And he worked here at this church Mondays and Fridays. 2 years ago, Dwayne came to me and he said, "Dad," he said, "I think the Lord really wants me in the ministry." And of course, it was probably about that time as well. I've got a little bit mixed up when Brother Marks was here. I think that was a decision thing that helped on that. But he said, "I think the Lord really wants me in the full-time ministry. Does your offer still stand about coming to work at the church full-time?" I said, "It most certainly does, more now than it ever has, as God's blessed the church." And while all this was going on, I had another young son, Madison, that was at a crossroads in his life. And he didn't know what he wanted to do. He didn't know if he wanted to be a nurse. He didn't know if he wanted to be an insurance salesman. He didn't know if he wanted to be a business. He didn't know what he wanted to do. Spent 2 years in college and still didn't have no direction of what he wanted to do. But, it was all the plan of God. And when Dwayne approached me and said, "Dad, I'm ready. I feel like it's time." I wasn't going to tell this man to give up a 15-year career or a 13-year career at that time. I wasn't going to tell him to do that and come to work for me. I don't want to be selfish. And because he was very successful. And when he come to me and he said, "I'm ready," I said, in my mind, I'd say, "Yes, you are, because you can tell it." And that was 2 years ago, and I felt like the Lord spoke to me at that time. And I can tell you where I was at. I walked outside my garage on the steps, and I picked up the phone, and I called Madison. I said, "What are you doing?" We began to talk. And I said, "Madison," I said, "you're at this crossroads in your life." I said, "You don't know what you want to do in life. You still haven't found no direction." And I said, "Do you believe that not only am I your father, you believe I'm your man of God? And feel like I've heard from God?" "Yes, sir, Dad, whatever you say." I said, "Have you ever thought about being a barber?" He said, "No, I really haven't. I just always knew Dwayne was." And I began to tell him that Dwayne had come to me and said, "Dad, I'm going to sell my shop in Tiptonville, and I'm coming to work full-time at the church." And I told Madison, I said, "Why don't you go to barber school? Why don't you become a barber and continue on the work that your brother started, because he has laid a tremendous foundation and a clientele, etc." I said, "It's all there." And I said, "He's your brother, and he can help you along the way." And sure enough, 2 years later, Madison sitting here tonight, just got off work a while ago. Mondays he goes to work from 8 o'clock to from 12 o'clock to 8:30 in the evening, working man special on Monday. But 2 years later, Madison is a master barber in Tennessee, and it's amazing how things change. All he's got to do is pay $60 or something like that. And Tennessee is kind of like these concealed carry things. Tennessee honors Kentucky's master barber's license, and Madison can be a master barber in Kentucky. He is going to do that. He told me he's going to do that, being right here and so close to the state line. And so he opened up the shop. Madison opened up the shop there where Dwayne had it open from Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Madison opened it up, went to barber school, graduated, went to school for 2 years, graduated, and opened it up Monday and Friday. And Dwayne's last day as a full-time barber was last Thursday. Last Thursday, Dwayne's career as a full-time barber. His first day on the job, full-time here at First Pentecostal Church, was today. I want to address this congregation Dwayne is second in command in this church. We're just going to get all that settled straight right now. Second command in this church. Sister Cooper, you don't know how much you settled some things with my wife a few days ago. When there was ladies that was needing to get baptized in the jail, and they wouldn't let the men baptize them. My wife told me that, and I said, Jennifer, you baptize them. She said, I said, no, you baptize them. Somehow, word got to Sister Cooper, and Sister Cooper said, Sister Uzzle, because my wife told me, said, Sister Uzzle, whatever your man of God has blessed and put his approval on, God's going to approve it. God's going to approve it. And so my wife did. You ought to see her beforehand. She had so many dry baptisms trying to get it right before she went to the real. But anyway, we're not going to stand before God when there's women who want to be baptized. Well, I don't know how you believe that, but it happened. And it'll happen again if they need to be baptized. And so, thank you, Sister Cooper, for that. And Brother Dwayne Uzzle is the second in command of this church. And if he makes a decision, I'm not around, I'm going to, you know what? Even if I was around, if he made a decision, I'm going to back him. Because I trust him. I believe in him. Let me tell you something. I'll tell you right now. I was 26 years old when I became the pastor. I didn't have a daddy. Some of you were under my pastoralship when I first started. I didn't have a daddy. My daddy died 6 months after I took the pastoralship. Dwayne will be 33 next month. 33 years old. And he almost didn't have a daddy. No. I'm here. And it makes you look at things a little bit different. The older you get, it's not fair, it's stingy for me to hold on to things in this church because for money's sake. This church takes care of me very well. Very well. Not one dime out of this church is coming out of your pockets, it's coming out of my pockets to take care of this man. Well, hello. Now, it could be in my pocket because it's rightfully so mine. But as the church grows, it's not good for one man to just spread himself so thin that he can't operate functionally properly. So it makes if Dwayne makes a decision, and I've got full confidence and trust in this man. Full confidence and trust. If you're in the hospital and you want to be visited, first of all, let us know. You got to let us know if you go to the hospital. We don't know if you're in the hospital. Brother Uzzle didn't come get me because Brother Uzzle didn't know you was in the hospital. Was quiet. If you're in the hospital, you're going to be either visited. If we know and you want us there, it'll either be or Dwayne. And or even if one of these other ministers or somebody might come on behalf of Dwayne or I. And I want to tell this church, don't hesitate to talk to Brother Dwayne Uzzle at all. Listen to me. Or his wife Yolanda. If you can't talk to Sister Uzzle and I, don't hesitate to talk to them because everything we talk about, we're going to find out later because they tell me everything. Everything. There's people that's talked to Dwayne this week. I know every word that was said because he's talked to my wife and I. And so, if you do talk to him, first opportunity he gets, he's going to let us know what's going on and talk to me. And so, Dwayne is in charge of our outreach here. He's got some duties in this church that are full-time jobs. While I'll take 3 or 4 days and go visit the hospital flat on my back. Dwayne's in charge of the services. and the church rolls on. It proved itself this weekend. And he's in charge of our outreach, business management, and anything else. But let me tell this church, don't abuse his generosity. Don't abuse this man's generosity. This is the first time that we've had a full-time member on staff here, full-time, other than my wife and I being the pastor and pastor's wife. It's a big step. It's a big step for me. But don't abuse his generosity. Dwayne Uzzle is one of the most generous men you'll ever find in this earth. This man right here. But he has a family. He's got a wife. And he's got 2 girls and a boy on the way. I'm about got shouting right there. But don't call him at 3 o'clock in the morning. There's somebody kept trying to call my wife and I the other night at 12 o'clock, 12:30, 1 o'clock. And it was about 3 days later, my wife and I was driving. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I said, I ought to call them right now and say, hello, good morning. How are you? Don't call him at 3 o'clock in the morning. Why? Because he will answer. And he will come out and pray over your sore toe. Or I won't. I'm not being mean. But I won't tell you, the Bible says, try the spirits and see if they be of God. Just because you ate pizza and stay up all night and can't sleep, don't make no sound. He's got a job to do. He's got work to do. But on the flip side of that, seriously, this church has been very kind to my wife and I. We're going to be celebrating our 27th year as a senior pastor and wife of this church. And you have been so gracious and kind to us, and this church has never, ever abused the pastoralship here at this church. And if it is an emergency, by all means, don't hesitate to call me or Dwayne. But if it's stupid stuff, my gracious alive. Man, listen. Dwayne's a van driver. He picks up kids every Sunday morning. He got another van out here. We bought one just a few days ago. It's an older van, but it is very clean, very nice inside. And he started a new route just a few days ago, a couple of Sundays. I think Sunday was the first. Yesterday might have been the first time or second time that they've been on this route. And so there's no slow down to this guy. He don't have no brakes. No slow in him. The driving force and energy that made him a successful, what do you call it, entrepreneur, a business owner, 2 business owners for 15 years, has now channeled that drive and that force is now being channeled even more so here at the First Pentecostal Church. Amen. Every service, Brother Dwayne Uzzle gives 110%. Am I telling the truth? Every service. Every service. He gives all in every service. I don't care if it's Brother Phillips preaching. Brother Dwayne is going to get that man, that service ready for him to get behind this pulpit. He's going to give us a shot in the arm and let us know, get ready. Singing is not the most important part of this service. This preaching of the Word of God is the most important part. And Dwayne is the leader of this worship service, and he gives 110% every time. And for a man to give up a career, a 15-year successful career, and give his life to the work of God here at First Pentecostal Church, I think it's worthy of double honor. I think it's worthy of honor. Welcome aboard, Brother Dwayne Uzzle. Welcome aboard. How about